If you take a look at Quatrain 138, it mentions Sun City. So does Quatrain 1:8. And the Sun City, I do believe, is Kyiv. But this also refers to the government of Ukraine located in Kyiv and further to surrounding Kyiv, because the Ukraine, the borderland, wasn't really a country in Nostradamus' time, but Kyiv did exist in Nostradamus' time. It was a city-state. It had gone from the kingdom of the Kievan Rus. It had been the kingdom of the Rus. It had been taken over by the Mongols, run by the Golden Horde for years, then was taken over by the Duchy of Lithuania in Nostradamus' time, all through his life, right up till right about after his death, and then it was taken over by the Crown of Poland. These days, Kyiv has been referred to as Sun City because of all the beach resorts along the Dnipro River. There's even one called the Sun City Beach Resort, but there are many stores and markets and cafes named after Sun City Cafe, things like that. I will show that in a deep, long-winded discussion all its own about the Ukraine and the many quatrains depicting the history playing out there right now. They start a new generation of quatrains that can only be truly solved if you have internet access. Let's take a look at Quatrain 1:8. I will read you Big Al's version, and I do recommend this version over others available, even though I do alter it at times. Here's the quatrain. How often will you be captured, O city of the sun? Changing laws that are barbaric and vain. Bad times approach you. No longer will you be enslaved. Great Hardie will revive your veins. Okay, let's take a look at that first line. It says, how many times taken or captured Solar City or Sun City. It doesn't say City of the Sun. That is poetic license, I'll give him that, but that would be Cité du Soleil. The second line starts with Seras, you will be. So he tags that onto the first line to say, how many times taken Sun City will you be? So you could read it that way, how many times will you be taken Sun City? Or you could read it, how many times taken Sun City you will be, changing barbaric and vain laws. Meaning that is what the people there are going through. Vain can mean prideful or conceited, but it can also refer to attempted without success. And that doesn't mean by the people in the city, it means their government being changed by the invaders that keep taking the city. Kyiv has been invaded, taken over, and turned into a tributary by many empires in the last 500 years. So it's no coincidence that the third line reads, your pain or your evil is approaching. More will you be enslaved. Now, for whatever reason, Big Al's version has a negative in this line. And the point here is he could only translate what Font Brun gave him, who was the writer of the book that the translation comes from. But it is actually the opposite. It doesn't have a negative in there. The translation from Big Al's that goes around the internet everywhere says no longer will you be enslaved. But that's not what line 3 says. Line 3 says, your pain is approaching. The more you will be made tributary. Tributary is the word chosen here. It means dependent or taxable, subject to toll, tax or duty, or even imposable and obligated, or at worst, owned. But in those days, a tributary paid tribute or was destroyed, and they were second-class non-citizens to the empire, a financial enslavement. So the third line translates to your evil approaches, or you are about to be wronged. The more you will be dependent, and that's sadly very true because now they're completely dependent on the Western world for just about everything. The fourth line, the great Hardie will revive your veins. That word is recouurira, and it comes out of recouvrira, which means to cover up, to recover, to regain, to revive, to collect. it is saying the great Hadrian will collect your veins, which I feel means more than will get you to get pumped. I believe this refers to the French saying, si sangue au quatre veins, which literally translates to bleed out of four veins, and means to be willing to go through huge sacrifices, or to give all. Who's the great Hardie? The Hardie this quatrain refers to is Hadrian, the Roman emperor who from 132 to 136 CE during his reign put down the Bar Kokhba revolt, which was a revolt in Judea against the Roman Empire. He was very vengeful and brutal about it, then afterwards erased the name of the region from the map, renamed it Syria-Palestine, and exiled the Jewish population from the area. He felt the Jewish people weren't a real people and Judea was not a real country. This is not to be confused with the Hardie right after it in Quatrain 1:9. The Hardie in that quatrain refers to Hadria, which was a major seaport and city in the north of Italy during the Roman Empire, and the sea leading to it, now called the Adriatic Sea. But in Quatrain 1:8, Hadrian wanted to eliminate the Jewish people. On February 21st, 2022, Vladimir Putin gave a specific speech entitled The Address Concerning the Events in Ukraine. This was a televised national address, part of which made the argument that the Ukrainians were not a real people and that he wanted to wipe Ukraine off the map. And that has pretty much pumped the veins of the Ukrainians. And that's where I see that in this speech, Hadrian refers to Vladimir Putin, and therefore Sun City is Kyiv. So let's read this one more time. How many times will you be captured, Sun City? Your laws to be changed, barbaric and vain. Your pain and evil is approaching. You are about to be wronged. The more you will be dependent. The great Hadrian will cause you to make huge sacrifices and give your all. So with that, if you look at Quatrain 138, it's about the sun and the eagle, the U.S., assuring everyone that this is going to work out. Now, do you remember when Vladimir Zelensky recently came to Washington, D.C. and appeared with Joe Biden at the White House on television? They assured everyone that this was going to work out. But the fourth line of the quatrain states that the hope of victory is somewhat empty because nothing is going to get the Ukrainians to give up, and that liberty and peace can only be achieved for many through death. When you come down to Quatrain 134, it alludes to the bird of prey that flies to the left, connecting with the French before all this starts. See the bird of prey that flies to the left? That's a play on words. That'd be Joe Biden. Come on, man. It's a word game after all.